Hey folks, welcome back to Military Forces Unleashed. Today we're diving deep into one of the most aggressive naval expansions in modern history, China's relentless push to dominate the seas in 2025. And let me tell you, they're not just playing battleship, they're rewriting the rule book of naval warfare. All right, picture this. You're the captain of a warship patrolling the Pacific. Everything's calm until your radar lights up with dozens of new blips. No, it's not a glitch. It's the Chinese Navy, and their fleet just got even bigger. Again. From massive aircraft carriers to stealthy submarines, China's People's Liberation Army Navy, or PLAN, is expanding at a pace that makes even the U.S. Navy stop and take notes. But here's the million-dollar question. Is China building a blue water navy capable of challenging the West, or are they just piling up ships with more bark than bite? Let's find out. To understand China's modern naval ambitions, we have to rewind a few decades. Back in the late 20th century, the plan was mostly a coastal defense force, built to protect China's shores rather than project power. While the U.S. Navy was cruising around with aircraft carrier battle groups, China was still struggling to build reliable destroyers. But the shift came in the early 2000s when China decided to go from regional defender to global contender. And how do you do that? You build ships, lots of them. By the 2010s, China's naval expansion was already outpacing every other nation on the planet. They launched their first aircraft carrier, the Liaoning, and began modernizing their fleet with guided missile destroyers and submarines. When President Xi Jinping took power, the game changed completely. The Chinese Communist Party made it clear, a strong navy was no longer optional. It was a necessity. And with that, funding poured in like a tidal wave. The Type 055 destroyers, the Jin-class nuclear submarines, and the massive Type 003 aircraft carrier became the new faces of China's Navy. Fast forward to 2025, and China now boasts the largest navy in the world by sheer numbers. Over 340 ships and counting. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just about numbers anymore. China is now focusing on quality. Take the Type 003 aircraft carrier, Fujian. Unlike China's first two carriers, which were heavily based on Soviet designs, the Fujian is their first fully indigenous carrier, meaning no borrowed blueprints. It comes with an electromagnetic catapult system similar to the U.S. Navy's Gerald R. Ford-class carriers, allowing it to launch heavier aircraft with more weapons. Translation? China now has a carrier that can project serious power across the globe. While everyone's busy looking at China's shiny new aircraft carriers, their submarine fleet is silently growing into one of the most formidable forces beneath the waves. China's latest Jin-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, now patrol the Pacific with JL-3 intercontinental range missiles, capable of reaching targets thousands of miles away. In other words, these subs don't just hide, they bring the firepower of a full-scale war along with them. Then we have the Type 055 Renhai-class destroyers, essentially floating fortresses armed with advanced radar, missile defense systems, and most importantly, hypersonic missiles. These bad boys can take out enemy ships before they even know what hit them. The plan isn't just growing in size, it's becoming more lethal. So, let's break this down. China now has more ships than the U.S. Navy. Their aircraft carriers are finally catching up to Western designs. Their submarine fleet is growing in both numbers and capability. They're developing hypersonic weapons that could bypass traditional missile defenses. On paper, that sounds terrifying, right? But hold on. There's a flip side to this coin. Carrier inexperience. Unlike the U.S., which has operated carriers for over 100 years, China's experience with naval aviation is still in its infancy. Carrier operations aren't just about having a big ship, it's about training pilots, refining tactics, and keeping everything running smoothly in combat conditions. Logistics. Nightmare. Having a giant fleet is one thing. Keeping it fueled, maintained, and supplied on long-range missions, that's a whole different ballgame. The US has a global network of bases and supply chains. China? Not so much. Lack of real combat experience. The last time China's Navy saw actual combat was in 1974 against Vietnam. Meanwhile, the US Navy has been involved in major conflicts and exercises almost non-stop. There's a big difference between war games and the real deal. It's no secret that China's naval expansion has set off alarms in Washington, Tokyo, and Canberra. The US has responded with AUKUS, a new defense alliance between the US, the UK, and Australia aimed at countering Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific. Meanwhile, Japan is boosting its defense budget to record levels, and Taiwan is bracing for a possible naval blockade scenario. One of the biggest flashpoints remains the South China Sea. China has built artificial islands, installed military bases, and basically told everyone else, this is ours. The problem? International law doesn't exactly agree with that claim, and with US warships frequently conducting freedom of navigation operations in the area, let's just say tensions aren't exactly cooling down. So, where does this leave us? China's Navy is growing faster than any other in modern history. They've got the numbers, the technology, and the ambition to rival the US and its allies. But naval dominance isn't just about who has the biggest fleet, it's about training, strategy, and global reach. And in that department, China still has a lot of catching up to do. If you found this breakdown of China's naval expansion interesting, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into military power plays, and let us know in the comments. Do you think China's Navy will ever surpass the US? Or are they biting off more than they can chew? We'd love to hear your take. Thanks for watching Military Forces Unleashed. Your support keeps us afloat, literally and figuratively. Until next time, stay sharp, stay informed, and keep watching the world's military power shifts unfold in real time.